It's not easy finding a job these days, especially if you have experience in security. That's why when Daniel saw a job ad for a night shift security guard at an old abandoned hospital at the edge of town, he jumped at the chance. Sure, it paid less than most of his other gigs, but it was still a steady paycheck with benefits and a roof over his head. So he applied and got the job. He didn't think much of it when he heard rumors from the locals that no one could work there longer than a week. He figured it was just an old building with some squeaky floorboards and an overactive imagination. But he should have listened to those gossips, because by the end of his first week he was a believer. He never heard any other voices or sounds in the otherwise silent halls. But what he heard more than anything were the sound of footsteps. Footsteps that never seemed to belong to anyone else. He'd walk the long corridors alone, listening to the faint sound of someone else walking behind him. When he turned around, he'd find no one there. But then the sound would start again, this time closer, always stopping just before he could get a good look at whatever or whoever was making the noise. Then on the second night, he spotted a wheelchair in the middle of the corridor. He remembered passing that spot just 10 minutes ago, and he was sure he'd de-locked that section of the hospital off when he made his rounds. Of course, he reported it, and the higher-ups sent someone to check it out, but they found nothing. Daniel, however, knew something was there. He just couldn't see it. On the third night, the cameras in the control room caught something. He was reviewing the footage from the past hour and couldn't believe his eyes. There in the sterile white patient gown was a hunched-over figure standing directly behind him. When he'd walked past the camera, but when he turned around, he was alone. The fourth night was quiet. No footsteps, no wheelchair, no creepy figures in gowns. And Daniel almost believed he was going crazy until the monitors in the control room started flickering to life one by one, until every screen was showcasing a different angle of himself sitting in the same chair he was sitting on right now. Then he looked down at his chest and realized he wasn't breathing. In fact, he hadn't moved at all since he started his shift 8 hours ago. He tried to call for help, but no voice came out. He tried to move, but his entire body felt heavy like a weight was pinning him down. Then he heard the footsteps again, and he watched as a figure approached the monitors. The figure stopped as if it had seen him, and then turned to leave. That was when he realized he could move again. He got out of the chair and stumbled to the monitor just in time to see the camera angle change. What he saw next made his blood run cold. Sitting in the chair was the hunched-over figure from the previous night, the one that had been following him, the one that had been watching him. He whipped his head around, expecting to see the figure standing behind him, but there was no one there. He ran a hand through his hair, trying to calm his racing heart. Was he really seeing things? Was the stress finally getting to him? Or was there really a ghost in the abandoned hospital? He decided to check the other monitors to see if he could catch the ghost on camera. And what he saw made him wish he hadn't. The figure was walking down the hallway, its back to the camera, and it was definitely not a patient gown he was wearing. It was Daniel's uniform. He must have left it in the supply closet. Why did he have 2 uniforms? Because the day shift guard had called in sick, and Daniel had picked up his shift too. We had worn the other guy's uniform, the one with the NAMA tag that read Michael. Suddenly, the eerie footsteps sounded again, this time coming from behind him. He turned around slowly, expecting to see Michael standing there, but he was met with an empty hallway. And yet the footsteps were close behind him, always just out of sight. Just then, the morning shift supervisor walked in. "You're okay, Daniel? You look pale?" "Yeah, I'm fine," he lied, hoping his face gave nothing away. And just as the supervisor left, the footsteps stopped. Daniel let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Maybe he was going insane after all. As the sun rose, he clocked out, thankful to be leaving the creepy hospital. But as he reached for the door handle, a hand clamped over his mouth, pulling him back. Startled, he thrashed wildly until he saw whose hand it was. "Michael, don't scream," Michael hissed. "I didn't mean to scare you, but we need to talk."